Hello, good evening, neighbors and friends, brothers and sisters. Welcome again. Another evening from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Bring your coffee, your tea, and any beverages you like, and let us talk. I would like to talk to you about the week's work, and also I would like to also hear your concerns and also answer some of your questions. You're joining me, Facebook, Faisal Hassan NDP, Instagram, Faisal Hassan NDP, and also Twitter, Faisal Hassan NDP, LinkedIn, and also YouTube. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge at this time the land that we now know as York Southwestern is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuits, Métis peoples. I would like to welcome my colleague, Andrea Barrett, our Brampton South NDP candidate this upcoming provincial election, June 2nd. She says to you folks from Instagram, good evening, MPP Faisal Hassan. Good evening, Andrea, and hope you're doing well, folks. If you live Brampton South, reach out to Andrea Barrett. She's doing a fantastic job. A couple of weeks, actually last week, Andrea visited here and we had a fantastic conversation. So she's an excellent candidate. Please do whatever you can to help her there in Brampton South. Thank you for joining me, Andrea Barrett. It's our Ontario NDP candidate for Brampton South. Folks, those who are just joining, welcome, brothers and sisters. I'm your member Provincial Parliament, Faisal Hassan, joining you every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. to hear, of course, your concerns and take up some of your questions, but also to speak to you about the work of this week. I want first to wish Happy Hanukkah to members of the Jewish community celebrating this week. Last year's celebration was greatly disrupted due to the pandemic, so I hope everyone has an opportunity to celebrate with loved ones and enjoy the wonderful wintertime festival. Many peace, love, and joy come to you during this Festival of Lights, Chak Samach. Thank you, and I hope you are all doing well. And also another sad news, folks, I just want to share quickly, and that is the passing of Harry Van de Kamp, and we were saddened to learn this week of the passing of Harry Van Kamp, owner of Golden Crips Fish and Chip. This family-owned business has been in operation since 1935. That is 60 years in operation in our community, and Harry was a universally loved member of our community. Harry passed away suddenly from a heart attack on Thursday, November 25th this year, and is survived by his beloved wife, Judy, and their 6 children, Becca, Amy, Katy, Matthew, Gollery, and 4 loving grandchildren, Kinsley, Raleigh, Harvey, and Victory, and community members wishing to pay their respect can find details of the services at the Wood Funeral Homes, and I think the funeral will be tomorrow. And I send my sincere condolences to the family and to the entire community of Mount Dennis and also in York Southwestern. He was a great guy. I met him in 2007 when I was working at the constituency office of our former MPP here, and that office was located on Mahoney, and as you know, Golden Crips Fish and Chip was just opposite there, Jane and Winston. And I always had a fantastic conversation with Harry, and he was always welcoming, and he was also friendly and also open to also different ideas, and he was always had also expressed his views, and he was always patient and caring, such a great guy. This was also a shock to all of us. So that's the sad news of this week, folks. Also, folks, we are still accepting the applications for the second round on the annual MPP Faisal Hassan Youth Council for York Southwestern, and now opened. And our Faisal Hassan MPP Youth Council for York Southwestern provides our young people an exciting opportunity for young people to highlight ways our community can be better, and also identify ways we can support young people across this province. And if you are a young person between the ages of 16 and 24 and are interested in making an impact in your community, please send an application. If you don't know how to send the application, just send fhassan-co@ndp.on.ca, and we'll be happy to send you quickly. And we've also sent all the high schools in our community and other community centers that deal with young people. So that's also another way you can also connect us, and also you can also phone 416-243-7984. Folks, welcome again, those who are joining us just now from a Facebook page, Faisal Hassan NDP, Twitter, Faisal Hassan NDP, Instagram, Faisal Hassan NDP, and LinkedIn, and also YouTube. So also this week, Pelmo Park Public School was their 70th anniversary. And I wish to congratulate Pelmo Park Public School and the surrounding community on Pelmo Park neighborhood on reaching the milestone of their 70th anniversary last week. The school hosted a celebratory events that I was honored to take part in. I want to thank Principal Jermaine Wallace and Vice Principal Giuseppina Nanfana Grande for being such a gracious hostess. I also want to thank the parents and teachers, staff and students, both past and present, who have done so much to contribute to its legacy. Congratulations for 70-year anniversary at the Pelmo Park Public School in our community. And that's a great achievement, folks. And I see a lot of comments coming quickly on the on Facebook page. Quickly, I'll take quickly those who are just to join. And quickly here is Brandon, who says, today the province of Ontario has reported 1,031 new COVID-19 cases here in Ontario since the COVID-19 cases are up again. Up again. Do you think that Premier Ford will put the province of Ontario back into lockdown? Well, that's a good question, Brandon. I think this is also, we are going into a winter period, Brandon, and I think families and folks are gathering together. And I think, look at it, 90% of the people have gotten their vaccines. I think we still have to have cautious, if you haven't taken your vaccine, please do so, practice social distancing, wear your masks, make sure that we are, extra careful, because of people are meeting now and gathering because of holidays as well. But also we need to also be vigilant as well. So I don't think we are yet there, Brandon, but I think we are heading in the right direction. Okay. Well, thank you for the question. Darren, my friend Darren, hi, thank you for joining me. You owe me, I will call you back after I finish this. I know I have to give you a call, but Darren comments and says, how many pot shops do you think are too many? There's certainly 6 within 3 blocks of a school. Well, that's a very good question, Darren. I have been talking about this. I rose at the legislature and I have talked about this. This is too much. And as you know, early on when the Justin Trudeau have legalized this, and then the BC Conservatives have not listened to us, the official opposition, because we said, let the LCPO manage this. And that way it can be controlled easily. It will be also locations are known away from schools. But then they have created this mess, and now our kids are at risk. And we have seen even many schools. I have identified a couple of schools that they are just less than a couple of blocks, and this is not acceptable. And I think also the problem, I've also had, Darren, a town hall meeting on this. Also, we heard conversations we had from local leaders, municipal leaders here in Toronto. They too has also want to have a say. At the moment, they don't. And I think this is not working. If this is popping up everywhere, if it's popping up on our schools, if it's popping up every corner in our neighborhood, and we need a better system in place. And that's why I have raised this in the legislature, and I'll continue to raise to make sure that we have a better system to manage these out of control stores. And as you know, many members of our community, when we had that town hall meeting, they have said they are not against businesses, small businesses with regard to this. But what's happening is that they're not following the rules. They're close to schools. They're close where kids are gathered. They're close to where kids are playing, and this is not the right thing. And we need to make sure also when community also put concerns, when the community puts also concerns to these boards, and then immediately the information are shared with these people, and this is also harassment and intimidation that many of you have told me about this. And now we need to make sure that also the municipalities have a say here. And I think you're right. This is out of control. We need fewer of them, like the LCPOs, and that's why I think it's important that the community have spoken, and nobody's listening. This government is not listening to the community, and this is why we have the mess, Darren. And I'll continue to hold this government and ask more questions with regard to this as well. Also, I see here another question coming, Ahmed, saying that I have a question in regards to the recent NDP proposal to raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. How will small businesses handle the raise of minimum wage when it is already so hard to afford to run a business during the pandemic? Also, would not the cost of goods rise as more people make more money? Well, I think this is a very good question. That's why we say, and we've been saying, mainstream is the key. We have to support the mainstream. As you have seen that the recently Auditor General's report with regard to small businesses, this government have not been supporting the small businesses. And they have been also sending money to organizations that do not want, or businesses that do not require, and not supporting businesses that need. And with regards to the $20 minimum wage, in my opinion, you see, first, let's talk about the history why we are here. And we are here because, the last 15 years, we had a Liberal government here in Ontario, and that Liberal government, as you know, have neglected workers continuously for 15 years, and with regards to basic days and minimum wage. And then the last minute, when the election was coming closer and closer, they have passed minimum wage of 14 and 35 cents, and said that 2019 January, the minimum wage is going to be $15. And then also 2 days of sick days. Workers need more than 2 sick days. They need 10 days of sick days of normal time, and also 14 days of emergency times. So then the 2018 June, when Ford Conservatives came, they cancelled completely, and that is also, and now, as you could see next year, about 6 months from now, we're going to have an election. Because of that reason, they're following the footsteps of the Liberals. And now, even though when the workers need, this was not done on the right time. So now he's saying next year, June 2020, sorry, January 2022, the minimum wage is going to be 15. And that's a 4 years, away from when the minimum wage is supposed to be $15 in 2019. So 2019, 20, 21, and 22 January next year, he says the minimum wage is going to be $15. So what we are saying is that we need to support small businesses, as we have been advocating and on the side of the small businesses. We have been working very hard to support them, and we'll continue to do that. But also we want also incrementally to make sure that workers have a living wage. So this is going to be done, Ahmed, incremental, so that next year, as we know, we agree next year, if it is going to be 15, it's not enough. In Toronto, the minimum wage, it has been suggested, it should be, because of the cost of living here. Some people have said it should be 22. What we are saying is we're going to reach this $20, but it have to be incremental. So that way, in next year, when January comes first, it's going to go to $15. We want also in October of that year, also the minimum wage to go $16. And then May of 2023, we want also to go again another dollar, which will be 17. And then 2024, May 1st, we want also to go 18, and then 2025 to go then 19, and then May 2022 to go $20. So the businesses are not going to be affected heavily, because we're going to support small businesses, we're going to help them. We will also make sure that this is also done incrementally. And that is the right thing to do, and that's the way to support workers. It's supposed to be already this year, in January, it's supposed to be 16. Since it's going to be 15, we want to make sure in October it reaches 16 in 2022. And I think that also supports the small businesses, because the small businesses know it and they also can plan, and we're going to also be there as an NDP government to support them. And I think that's how we're going to get it right, Ahmed, on that regard. Folks, welcome those who are joining Instagram, and also Faisal Hassan NDP, and also Twitter, Faisal Hassan NDP, YouTube and LinkedIn, and also Facebook page, Faisal Hassan NDP. And many of you are just commenting quickly. I'll take one more time. I hope, Ahmed, before I move to taking other comments, hopefully I answered your questions, because we're not going to abandon small businesses. We've said small business should be supported now. We shouldn't be waiting June 2nd. When we form government, we can do it now. And this government, we want to work with them. We have proposed ideas. Our plans, as you know, the Chamber of Commerce have said is the right thing to do. As you know, also the BIAs have said it's also the right thing to do, supporting the main street. So we have the plan, the ideas, and we want to implement it immediately. And Brandon says here, quickly, the Ontario NDP want to raise the minimum wage $20 an hour. Do you think that raising the minimum wage to $20 is a good idea for the province of Ontario? If the minimum wage goes up an hour, $20 an hour, do you think that businesses will close down due to the increase of the minimum wage? Brandon, I don't think so, as I've just answered the same question, similar question that another constituent, Ahmed, asked me this. I think this is going to be incremental. It's going to be also, we're going to support small businesses. So we make sure that we are there for our businesses to support them, and also to make sure workers are also receiving a living wage. So it can be done both at the same time. It's not either or. It is a government that cares, a government, an NDP government that will put our businesses, small businesses, not like the Ford Conservatives that have done, as you know, supporting the big box stores and neglecting workers. You've seen their bill 124 that also marks workers who are frontline workers, workers he calls them, heroes and champions. When it comes to the living wage, he denies them. And as you also see, the basic days as well. Now we might not have any after December 1st, and they have voted down our basic days bills for 27 times. So I think, Brandon, we need to work with small businesses to support them, and we also want to make sure workers are also having a living wage. And I don't think $20 is enough, but it's the right thing to do. And I think also in Ontario, especially in Toronto, the livable wage here should be 2022. But I think we do believe we have to work together with small businesses, and by doing incrementally this way, $20 a minimum wage is the right thing to do, and it won't hurt the businesses, and also it also motivates the workers to do also a better job, because now they know they're going to be paid. Also, we have to work, Brandon, with the basic days as well, because workers cannot come to work when they're sick, and it's the right thing to do as well. Well, thank you for your question again. I see here another question. Quickly, Ahmed says, thank you so much for the answer. Well, you're welcome, and then Frank says here, many mom and pop small businesses don't have workers on payroll. More importantly, those who earn more can spend more in local economies in which they work. Absolutely. And that is the purchasing power. It's very important. As you know, in our own community here, many businesses have closed down. And when they needed the help, they were not provided. And that's why it's important that we should be there for our small businesses. We should be there for our workers. We should not divide them. And we should not spend government's money for businesses that don't need. As we see in the Auditor General's report, spending 26 million that has been spent, businesses that don't need, and those who need them were not provided that support. And that's a shame, And thank you for your questions, folks. And welcome those who are joining. You're joining your Member Provincial Parliament, Faisal Hassan. I join you every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. to hear your concerns and to also some of your questions as well. Also, folks who are joining us from Instagram are joining. Welcome, Faisal Hassan, MPP, and also those of you who are joining us Twitter. Welcome, you're joining Faisal Hassan, NDP, and LinkedIn, also on YouTube. And we're trying to also reach as much platforms as we want to reach where you are, so we can bring to you what I am doing. So I have been working very hard since you've elected me, and that was June 7, 2018, and I will continue to work hard to make sure you have a voice, a strong local voice here. I'm your neighbor. I'm also somebody who have lived here over 21 years, right here in our community. So we have to make our community better, and we have to work together to do it right. And we need next year an NDP government to deliver results for not only York South-Western, but across Ontario. We have many issues to talk about, folks, and I just want to talk about a couple of things quickly. Just give me a minute. Thank you. And also, this Sunday, also, I was pleased and honored to join the Western Park Baptist Church. The holiday spirit of giving is back in our community. And I want to acknowledge yet another successful food drive organized by the Western Park Baptist Church in support of our own here in Western Area Emergency Services, WAYS. With the steadily increasing need for food bank support due to the pandemic, their efforts are greatly appreciated. I had an opportunity to join volunteers for food sorting on Sunday, this past Sunday, and I was filled with appreciation for their efforts. It was great to catch up with friends and neighbors and do our part to combat food security here in our community. And also the community was so generous. They have generously donated, and there was cars were coming, keep coming, and thank you Thank you to Western Park Baptist Church and the York Southwestern community for the generous contributions to support members of our community. Thank you, folks, for that. And quickly here, I'll take another question. I think is Carla. Carla, thank you for joining me. Carla says the pandemic has affected many people, families. A report has come out that more families are accessing the food banks more than ever before. What is your office providing support and assistance to families in need? And that is excellent. I think the community have responded, and I think the generosity of members of our community, but that's not enough. Absolutely, here, Carla, it's a role for government. It's a role for government to support members of our community by providing them, good jobs, providing them for programs and assistance that they need. And I think an NDP government will be a partner, not only working, but also giving communities hope and opportunities so that we uplift these folks so they can be, have an opportunity and for jobs and for also good paying jobs, and also providing them support for housing and making sure that they have also not to worry about where to live. So we need a government that has caring and compassion and works with the community. I know our community are doing so much good by donating food. A case example was this Sunday. The church here, Western Park Baptist Church, food was keep coming. And this is the generosity of members of our community that are supporting it. But what is missing here is the government's role. And that's we needed to provide the means and support these members of our community need, and also to provide them hope and opportunity. And definitely an NDP government will be a partner to do it, and also to make sure that people can also have the means to support themselves. Folks who are joining, welcome, folks. Folks who are joining on Instagram, welcome. And please also donate, if you can, to Waze, because I know they do a fantastic job. They're supporting our community, and also the Western Park Baptist Church has also contributed so much. And thank you to everyone who participated on Sunday and supported the community. Well, thank you also, Carla, for your question. And folks, I just want to talk about this week's what has been happening, and Ford turned away, folks, small businesses in need while giving millions to those that did not need help. Ford turned away small businesses in need while giving millions to those that did not need help. Small businesses that legitimately needed help to make it through the pandemic, while giving nearly 1 billion to corporations that didn't need it and didn't qualify. According to the annual report from the Auditor General, the Ford government gave 210 million. I said earlier 226 million. It is 210 million to businesses that were ineligible to receive anything. 8 million to businesses that had no revenue loss whatsoever, and gave some businesses 714 million more in support than they lost in revenue. And this is the government currently we have, folks. And the Auditor General's report also shows that the Ford government had troubling practices for contracts. It was handling out, in some cases, to Ford's own buddies and insiders. It gave a 2.5 million contract and an extension to Face Drive, while ignoring the red flags that Face Drive was in crisis. Ford himself appeared in promotional materials for the grant, and it is still unclear if any of the devices Ford marketed and Ontario brought were even delivered. The reports also show that wait times for outpatient surgeries are getting worse, and operating rooms are underused. To top it off, the reports found patients receiving OHIP-covered services at clinics have been getting gorged with extra charges, receiving a surprise bill after a surgery covered by Medicare. And this is also another crisis, folks, that's happening. Quickly, I see here a question that's coming to me from Brandon. Brandon says the LCPO is experiencing, a shortage of beer and wine beverage. What is the government of Ontario doing to help LCP to get more beer and wine beverages on the shelves before Christmas and New Year's Eve? That's a very good question, Brandon. And I think this is something we can hold the government accountable, definitely. And we have to make sure that we have to support businesses to get through and make sure that this is, I don't know more details about this, Brandon, but definitely I'll be happy to advocate to make sure that people, whatever they need during the holidays, they can get the LCPOs. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Brandon, for that quick question. And also today, folks, today also, it is the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. And also my colleague, who is Joel Harden, who is the MPP from Ottawa South, is our critic for disabilities and seniors. And he put also today a statement today. And this is the International Day for Persons with Disabilities, a time to honor the many contributions people with disabilities and the disability rights movement have made to our province. Well, today is a day to celebrate these accomplishments. It is also tagged with sadness. For the first time, the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act Alliance has acknowledged in a letter to the leaders of Ontario's political parties that the province will fail to achieve full accessibility by 2025 as required by law, by ODA, by law. How we have ended up here is no secret. Despite IODA's support, in 2005, successive Liberal and Conservative governments have moved agonizingly slowly to eliminate barriers. This is in despite of 3 legislative reviews, most recently by the Honourable David Onley, that have provided clear and achievable recommendations for how this can be accomplished. In his report, David Onley writes about, and I quote, soul-searching barriers that are, he calls soul-searching barriers that are preventing 2.6 million Ontarians with disabilities from living their fullest lives. A government that's truly committed, to delivering this. So, folks, you could see that, again, we are not able to reach that goal of 2025. And that's not good. We need to do better, and NDP government will do it better. Thank you. Your folks, you joined your member provincial parliament, Faisal Hassan. You're joining, I join you every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. to hear your concerns and take some of your questions and read some of your comments. Also, to talk to you about the week's work. And Dartford's Conservative vote down, back a year raise for minimum wage. Liberals refuse to vote in support. This has happened today, folks. Actually, it happened on not Friday, it happened on Thursday. And that's so fortunate. Fordist Conservatives denied workers a better pay by voting down an NDP amendment that would have put Ontarians on the path to a 20 minimum wage dollars. And my leader and the entire Ontario NDP have committed to a schedule of a stable, predictable $1 an hour increase to the minimum wage. Over each of the next 5 years, Fordist Conservative rejected that schedule, defeating an amendment to replace the low wage policy set out in the fall economic statement, where the lone Liberal in attendance at the legislature on Thursday, MPP Amanda Simard from Glenbury Prescott Russell, refused to take a position abstaining from the vote. That means the minimum wage will stagnate at 15 an hour as the cost of everything goes up. So does Doug Ford not understand that the minimum wage earners often have to couple together 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet and make sacrifices just to give their children the basics. Well, that's what my leader said yesterday at the legislature. And it's so sad, folks. It is not enough to call the people who clean our hospitals heroes, or to say thank you to workers who stock our grocery shelves. We need to show them respect by paying them a wage that pays the bills, folks. And that's exactly what we need to do, and NDP government will deliver that. On the path to a $20 minimum wage with stable, steady annual increases. That's how we're going to deliver it. And quickly, the Ford Conservatives cancelled the minimum wage increase and froze wages for 3 years, putting the wage to $15 years behind schedule. They cut and denied workers paid sick days, and they're capping wages of frontline heroes like nurses and teachers with a wage cap bill that pins their paychecks behind inflation. The Liberals could have raised the wage to $15 an hour when they had the chance, and they chose not to. But they chose to delay it until after Ford's election, where he cancelled immediately. Folks, so that is, we're going to deliver it, a $20 minimum wage in steady, stable, and also incremental. In $16 on 2022, $17 2023, and then also $18 2023, $19 2025, and then $20 2022. So that also is going to happen. Quickly, folks, I would like to inform you, of course, today we had official opening of a family bakery right here next to my office, and that is 1971 Western Road. I was happy and also pleased that I was happy to join their grand opening this morning around 11 a.m. And the lineup was huge, and I was pleased to participate that. And folks, support small businesses, shop locally, and check it out. They have a Caribbean food, and it's also a Jamaican bakery, and support those businesses in our community. Well, thank you. Brandon says, how was the service at Fami Bakery this morning? Well, that's a great question, Brandon. It was excellent service, excellent food, and parties are $1, folks, until the weekend, and they have varieties of them. I tried the veggie, I tried the beef, the chicken, and they're also the mild, the extremely hot, and you can try all of that. So it was awesome. So I like the spicy, and you can have it too, folks. Try it. It's right here in our community, actually next to my office, 1971 Western Road. And quickly, Darren writes, did you know that the TTC currently has over 55,000 daily violations of the AODA? 5 years ago, there was only around 500. Many happy International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Well, that's so sad. And I think this is the failure of the conservative and liberal governments, Darren, that have neglected this. And we should be able to reach 2025. But now, this report, the Honorable David Onley states we might not, we cannot. So I think this is unacceptable. The violations of 55,000 daily violations of the ODA, that's unacceptable. We must do better. And Darren, an NDP government will deliver, and we will make sure that we make sure that we reach the goals that Honorable David Onley have told us. Well, thank you, Darren, for your questions. And quickly, folks, this week I was at the legislature, and I to vote for and support a very important piece of legislation, the Rent Stabilization Act. would make it illegal for landlords to raise the rent on new tenants beyond the legal limit. If passed, the legislation would stop rents from skyrocketing and the end current incentive for landlords to evict good tenants just so they can jack up the rent. I hear the constituents on regular basis about large corporate landlords treating tenants unfairly or withholding repairs in the hopes that people will forced from their units. It has been a problem here in York Southwestern for a long time and is affecting communities right across the province. It is yet another symptom of the housing crisis that must be addressed, and measures like the Rent Stabilization Act would help counter these unjust practices. The bill was defeated, folks, on second reading and will not become law despite our best efforts. This government voted down again. And unfortunately, the government does not see the value in supporting this tenants or efforts to control the drastic rent increases as we have struggled with the housing crisis. There is no time to delay, and action needs to be taken immediately to ensure people have safe and decent homes they can afford. Conservative and liberal governments of the past have allowed conditions to spiral out of control, and now we have reached the point where urgent action is required. Housing affordability is the most important issue facing this community, and Dartford has failed to take action. I will not stop fighting for fair treatment of tenants, and I will continue to demand tangible support and real action from this government. I spoke with residents this week as well, this past weekend, about the issue of housing affordability as part of our day of action. Our community knows firsthand how this issue is impacting families and resulting in abuse and evictions. People were pleased to learn that we have a plan to support tenants and to put home ownership within reach for a generation that feels like the dream is slipping away from them. Our homes you can afford plan, you can read it through our website, ontariondp.ca, or you can use any search engine. You can put it Ontario NDP Housing Plan, or you can write to me, Faisal Hassan, -co at ndp.ca, and I will be happy to send you, or you can just phone me at 416-243-7984, and I'll be happy to send you one. Our plan is well thought out and lays out a clear path to improving the lives of Ontarians. I urged the residents that I spoke with to read the plan and provide also their feedbacks. I encourage you to do the same. Housing is a human right, and it demands a government that will recognize it as such. No more excuses, no more delays. It is time to take bold steps to get this crisis under control, and I appreciate your support in making that happen, folks. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And also, because of we are in a housing crisis, I just want to go back a little bit about why we are here in this crisis. This crisis began in the 90s. And at that time, we had a federal Liberal government headed by John Crutcher and Paul Martin, his finance minister. They have created much of the problems we have, folks. You must know. And they said, we have nothing to do with housing. And what did they do? They downloaded housing responsibilities to provincial jurisdictions. Here in Ontario at that time, we had a premier named Mike Harris. And then we had, after that, Ernie Eves, Dalton McGuinty, and Captain Wynne. They have one thing in common. These Liberal and conservative premiers, what they did was, instead of tackling the housing crisis from Ontario perspective and taking on the Liberal government at the time. They simply downloaded to municipalities. And municipalities cannot handle this crisis. We have seen it, folks. And because of this, I know our worship, John Tory, is doing his best. The city councillors are working hard, but they cannot handle. Our city of Toronto cannot handle the housing crisis. The waiting list for a housing, an affordable housing, is long. It's over hundreds and hundreds of thousands. Not only Toronto municipality, but close to all the municipalities in Ontario. It's a crisis. And this is, folks, it's where it began. You have to know this. And the Liberals and the Conservatives in this government in the 90s, and now they had the opportunity to do it right. And now we have the last 3 and 8 months, the Conservative government, they have done nothing about it. And now we need to do something about it. And we have the plan, folks. That is the plan I'm going to talk. That's the plan I'm talking about. So you need to read this, and we will implement it as an NDP government next year. So, folks, those who are joining now, you're joining your member provincial parliament, Faisal Hassan. You join me every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. and you're joining Faisal Hassan NDP Facebook page, Twitter, Faisal Hassan NDP, and also Instagram, Faisal Hassan NDP, also LinkedIn and YouTube as well. Thank you. And Brandon says quickly, Toronto Public Health has detected 3 COVID-19 Omicron variants. Do you think that the city of Toronto will go back into lockdowns? Well, that's a very good question. Brandon, I don't think so. You know, we're doing very well. As you know, we have come a long way. People are doing their best. 90% of the folks have at least got one of their vaccines. We need to make sure people to be encouraged to get their vaccines, to practice social distancing as they gather on the holidays, and make sure that they practice social distancing. I think we will be able to manage this and make sure that we come out of this as soon as possible. Well, thank you, Brandon. And those who are joining, just give me a minute. Those who are just joining, you're joining your member provincial parliament, Faisal Hassan. Neighbors, friends, brothers and sisters, welcome. And this week also, people working on the front line kept us going through the early days of the pandemic. They worked hard and risked their safety and that of their families to keep our communities going. Their contributions are incredibly valuable to the functioning of society. However, they are rarely paid what they deserve for their work. I think people deserve a decent wage for hard day's work. Basic living expenses are becoming increasingly unaffordable, and to expect a person to be able to survive on $14.35 per hour just doesn't make sense. Folks, it doesn't make sense. The minimum wage should be a livable wage, one that helps people afford the essentials and helps students put some money aside for their future. We can and we should do better for low-wage earners by showing them how much we value their labor, their work, their contributions. And that is why I was thrilled to support my leader, Andrea Horvath, the leader of the official opposition, the leader of the Ontario NDP, as she announced this week a plan to increase the minimum wage in Ontario to $20 through steady, stable increases on day one of an NDP government. Our plan will increase the minimum wage by $1 every year, culminating in a $20 minimum wage in 2026. Our plan will support local businesses by providing a predictable path and funding to help small and mid-sized businesses that have legitimately struggled over the past 2 years. We will be moving an amendment to the government's full economic statement and seeking the support of the other parties to move forward on our plan immediately. And I've talked about that on Thursday, Foxham, that his government also voted down, and the Liberals also have voted with them, abstained rather, which means really nothing. And while I hope we can get the support of the government, their track record on this issue does leave a lot to be desired. People in York Southwestern haven't forgotten the approach of prior governments. Under Kathleen Wynne, it took intense political pressure from supporters and advocates to increase the minimum wage back in 2018. And because of election looming at that time, the Liberals then have increased to $14.35 and said 2019 in January it's going to be $15. Well, it did not, because we had a BC government and they have cancelled it. She said, or they said, the Liberals, that the basic days will be 2 days. And then what did he do? He just cancels it. And now workers are struggling. And that was the Liberal and Conservative records here, folks. As soon as the Dartford office took office, he cancelled the minimum wage increase, only to bring it back just in time for the next election. So this is motivating an election, but we need to make sure that we have a government that doesn't just worry about elections, but worries about doing what's right for the people of this province. An NDP government will do that. When I speak to workers and small businesses in our community, they yearn for a government that puts average Ontarians ahead of wealthy donors and corporations. We need to stop saying how much we respect frontline workers and start showing them how important they are. With a $20 minimum wage, we can send the messages that their work is valuable and that they deserve the opportunity to earn a decent living. That is a message I am proud to put my voice behind. For workers, the frontline heroes, that we call them our heroes in our community. And quickly, folks, also this week, the Auditor General, Bonnie Lasks, released her annual report. The Auditor General is an independent officer of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario and aids accountability, transparency by conducting independent audits of the provincial government operations. She found that the Government of Ontario made businesses that were ineligible for small businesses support grant and more than 200 million in provincial supports in error. Others were given more money than they lost. And some legitimate small businesses were left out in cold, many in our communities. Much like it's just unacceptable what they have done. And if you want it, you can actually check my last newsletter that I sent out, and you can read that report as well. Well, folks, if you're just joining, your member provincial parliament, Faisal Hassan. You join me every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I join you to hear your concerns and also to hear and also share with your comments and also your questions with the rest of the members of our community. So, folks, I will continue also coming here and also sharing to the week's work and also hearing your comments and your concerns as well. Those of you who have asked questions, thank you. And those who have also shared their comments, thank you as well. Those who have joined us also on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and also Twitter and Facebook page, also thank you. And I know that also this week we have also next week is going to be the last week of this session in this year at the legislature, and I'm going to be there on this week, Monday, at the legislature to hold again this government accountable. And And it's very important that as we get to the end of the year also, I will be also talking next week, Friday, about the work and the fight we have with this government next week at the same time at Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Those also who have joined us, thank you. And we will also try to expand as many platforms as we can to simultaneously to connect you, on Fridays, because I do believe we need to bring to you the concerns of the community. Another thing also, folks, that's also disturbing and worrisome is that the Highway 407, the government just gives them $2 billion. Money we could have built many hospitals, money we could have improved our services in schools, ventilations, hire more teachers, and now just gives away these corporations. And also, when I talk about landlords, I'm not talking about mom and pop landlords that are struggling, that have mortgages, that are just renting their basement, renting a room in their houses. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these big landlords that are not following the rules, not doing repairs, maintenances. We've seen one case in our own community 2 weeks ago. The walls are falling into the tenants, and we've seen that. People talk about in social media as well. So it is also disturbing that we need to make sure these landlords are also having rent stabilizations for tenants, so they know what's going. And also we need to make sure that we have a rent control. We have to also eliminate as well these so-called above guidelines increases, which addition to the annual increases, above guideline increases, every year tenants have been receiving them until they could not even afford their own units, not because they are repairing the units in which these tenants are living. They're just doing lifting here and there in facelifting on the front, the entrance area, and but not doing much. So we need to make sure the landlords have responsibility to look after their buildings, and that will be making sure the tenants are respected, and tenants deserve a government that follows the rules and also make sure that it's done. Quickly, the few minutes I have, I think Jonathan Smith have just sent a comment quickly. I'll try to read as soon as possible. He says, when are you going to start speaking out and standing up for those who are being marginalized and discriminated against due to lack of job? And what are you doing to get these useless and potentially harmful masks off my kids? And he continues, Jonathan says, better not. Do you want a lockdown? What was that accomplished to date? Has it happened or hindered? Well, thank you, Jonathan, for your questions. I think we are in the middle of a pandemic. I know that because these public health guidelines have worked for us in Ontario, and it has worked because things could have been worse. And I think I would advise that you follow the public health guidelines, and definitely we need to hold this government accountable, and we have been holding this government accountable. You can just read Hansard. You can also read the debates that this government and the bills this government put forward at the legislature, and we need to make sure we have to come out of this quickly and as soon as possible. And to do that, we need to make sure that people are getting their vaccines. So far, at least 90% of the people have gotten, and that's encouraging. It's good. But in order for us to come out of this, we need to make sure that we are following the public health guidelines, following social distancing, making sure that you wear your masks. I don't know young kids wearing masks. I mean, that is the parents to decide, you know, and that's also, I will leave that to the parents' decision on that. But I think it's important that we have to follow. If you're not wearing your mask, then make sure that you are social distancing, you know, so that you are not closer to one another and so forth. Well, folks, thank you very much, Jonathan, for your question. I hope you answered your question. Thank you to each and everyone who have contacted and who have joined today and also sent comments and questions. I thank you for joining me. That's it for me for this Friday. I'll see you again next Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Until then, folks, be safe, practice social distancing, wear your mask, make sure if you haven't gotten your vaccine, get it, okay? And I will also see you again. Until then, you don't have to wait Friday, folks, to wait for me. You can still write to me, Faisal Hassan CO at ndp.on.ca, or you can phone me 416-243-7984. Until then, neighbors, friends, brothers and sisters, good night.